Once, when I got bored on my computer, I decided to play a game that I haven't before. I had heard great reviews for Plants vs. Zombies, so I decided to check it out. I searched for a torrent, and I found one that seemed like the kind I wanted to use. I could only get one seed for the torrent, so it took about a whole day to download. The next day after I finished, I opened it. It was in a folder named ZPlant, rather than being called Plants vs. Zombies.exe or PVZ.exe. Instead, the application was called DeadPlants.EXE. When I opened it, it seemed normal, except for a few minor differences, such as how the music sounded a bit off-key, higher than usual. When I clicked on the button for adventure mode, it never showed the animation of the hand rising up from the ground, nor did it play the sound effect that goes with it. The call played at the beginning of the stage was replaced by a scream, which made me jump at first, but other than that it seemed normal. The level seemed harder than usual. Even with only one lane to defend, the zombies ended up eating one of my pea shooters. The next stage seemed a bit difficult too. The zombies came a bit early and actually got two of my sunflowers. I wondered why someone would make a game so much more difficult than this. Despite the difficulty, I pushed on. While playing through the first few night stages, I noticed a few weird things. First of all, the sky was dark and stormy rather than clear. The graves, rather than having silly or comical inscriptions on them, had names of celebrities that died recently, such as Amy Winehouse. I wondered if whoever hacked this game put this in a version as a joke, because I didn't find it very funny. Whenever I used a grave buster, a message popped up saying, "Was this the game trying to teach kids a lesson?" Later on in the game, the music seemed to be messed up. In the fog levels, the pitch of the music got higher with each level until the last, when it was almost unbearable. Then the first roof level, in the place of music, was faint static. With each level, the static got louder and louder until it was so loud that I had to turn off the music. Instead of the last level with the Zombot, when I finished the last roof stage, it went to a black screen with white text sound it saying, "Why did you do this to us?" I wondered what it meant. After that, the game went to a level that looked like the lawn at the beginning, except it was half as large, and there was another lawn on the other side of the screen that was an exact mirror image of the lawn I was planning on. In the beginning, when it showed the zombies that I would encounter in the level, it was empty. I selected the following plants: sunflowers, pea shooters, repeaters, twin sunflowers, magnetrons, coffee beans, torchwood, and pumpkins. I still only had 8 slots. I turned the music back on from before, but it appeared that this level didn't have any music. Anyway, the level played out normal at first, and I can only plant on the left. I got the chance to plant 5 sunflowers before anything happened, and then on the other side of the lawn, a pea shooter appeared, but this pea shooter looked really creepy. In the place of eyes were dark, soulless voids. Unlike most creepypastas I read, the eyes didn't have a red pupil in the middle or anything, just dark, soulless voids. It started firing peas at the sunflower that I had in that row, except the peas that it fired looked old and diseased, and ended up killing my sunflower like in some botany. Then after that, 2 sunflowers were planted in the lane above it, and they had dark, soulless voids for eyes. The plants on the other side, the screen, whenever one of the plants on the other side was planted, the screen grew a bit darker and less saturated. The plants' numbers were getting overwhelmed, and all my plants were dying quicker than I could plant new ones. I was barely any to kill any of the opposing plants. I knew that this would not go well. When the screen was about twice as dark as it should be, the saturation had already been reduced to grayscale. After a while, the screen was almost too dark to see, but at that point my plants had been weakened to just a few sunflowers and pumpkins. The screen was starting to blur itself, but then stopped at the point where I could barely even see what's going on. Eventually, the scene kept deteriorating until the point where this whole screen was just black. At that point, I could hear the crunching noise that plays when a zombie makes it to your house. Instead of the normal shout that plays, the screen just turned white for about 7 seconds, and the screen turned red, striped white. I could hear a horrible, distorted screaming noise that almost popped my ears. Then the application just terminated, and it just went to my desktop. A message popped up that said a random couple characters and no particular pattern to them. It just let me start up thinking, what the heck was that? Now, whenever I try to open the application back up, it just goes to a black screen. Then a white screen. Then the red and white stripe plays again with the same distorted scream, then closes itself, leaving the same nonsensical error message. After that experience, I never pirated another game again. I'm very angry that some sick idiot would make such a thing, because that screaming noise will forever be stuck in the head. I hope someday the plants in our neighborhood will stop dying.